know that you are not entertaining enough, you're not likable enough, not interesting enough for people to watch 30 seconds of you talking without you doing some form of animal cruelty. So, Lights Camera Ants, one of the most controversial figures in the ant-keeping community at the moment. Before we get into this video and the criticisms I have of Lights Camera Ants, here are some actual opinions from ant keepers that I asked what their opinion was of Lights Camera Ants. One said careless, ruthless, irresponsible ant keeper. Another said fame before ants. Two more said mate, take it more seriously, and ant killer. And yet another simply said the worst type of human. I actually ended up asking Lights Camera Ants himself what he thought of himself, and he said needs improvement, which I think is a little bit of an understatement. LCA has had a presence on TikTok since the 25th of March 2020, roughly 207 days before he switched away from YouTube to focus on TikTok. This is his first TikTok video, quite different to what he's become known for more recently.
Hey, have you ever thought about keeping ants? And not only that, keeping them as pets? Well, if not, then you're missing out on a lot of fun, because these little guys make great pets. I happen to have 5 colonies of my own, all of which I'll share with you in future videos. From ants that collect seeds, to ants that form super colonies consisting of hundreds, if not thousands of queens. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and follow me now, like the video, and share this with your friends. I also happen to make YouTube videos about ants. You should subscribe, as this helps me out a lot. And with that said, my name is Lights Camera Ants, and I'll see you in the next video.
This TikTok currently has 351,000 views. So as a little conservative estimate, let's say that 5% of the current video views on that TikTok were from right around the first month when he posted it. That is still nearly 18,000 video views, which is the same, if not more, than his YouTube videos were getting at the same time, and requiring vastly less work. Initially, he did not post that frequently. I think he saw it as more of a fun side alternative to YouTube videos. Let's ask LCA himself when he thought his first successful TikTok was. According to LCA himself though, he says, the first successful video was me introducing my newly caught carpenter ant queen. This video was his second, and using the same 5% estimate, that video would have gotten 14,000 views, which is still huge, especially for that time. And then he says, afterwards came the live feeding videos. And yeah, they definitely came. I'm sure that most people here know what a live feeding is, but for those who don't, well thought out live feeding within ant keeping is generally when an ant keeper feeds their mature, meaning large and established ant colony an insect protein source that is completely living. No snip across the thorax or crushed head, completely living for the ants to take down. Large colonies can actually handle this, especially if they have a soldier cast. And some species, such as those within the Harpagnathus genus, accept live feedings much more readily than pre-killed prey. So for species such as those Harpagnathos, it is necessary. For large colonies who do not need living prey, it is acceptable, as if any workers are killed during the process of taking down the insect, it will remain quite a small amount of the whole colony that is killed. However, for smaller colonies, it can be destructive. Prey insects may be able to kill a significant portion of the colony while being killed, or they might just not be killed at all and run rampant around the nest, destroying pupae and eggs, and maybe even fatally wounding the queen. So let's play guess which type of feeding LCA did. I'll give you a few seconds to guess. That's right. It was on a smaller colony. While this species, Phaedole dentata, do have soldiers, it's still immature and honestly just a bit cruel to do a live feeding such as this. But people are immature and cruel all the time in ant keeping. It's just that my huge personal issue with this video is just that. It's a video. Think of how many people were scrolling through TikTok and saw that, and that was their first exposure to ant keeping. Someone feeding a live insect to a small colony. 99% of those people, won't actually go into ant keeping, but those that do will go in thinking that it's completely okay to feed living insects to your ant colony. He didn't even say, oh, don't do this at home with your ants, or give any sort of warning or disclaimer that your ants may die if you feed them living prey at home. I don't think live feeding for fun is that good of an idea, especially when it's documented on video, on social media, that is glorifying the killing of insects and in a way glorifying animal cruelty, and in addition to that, misinforming people that are watching that video that may want to go into ant keeping. Then he did a mealworm live feeding, again, with a different Fedole colony. Again, no disclaimer at all. Then a harmless video showing his Fedole dentata colony from the first feeding video. Just an update. Harmless. I actually really enjoyed that video and think that it should have stayed that way. But it didn't. Personally, my guess is that the live feeding videos performed better. They got more views, likes, comments, he got more follows after posting them, and so he kept making those. One with earwigs, where one got inside the nest, with the queen, with the eggs, with the pupae. No disclaimer, of course. One with an assassin bug. Assassin bug, like killing things, which, no surprise, killed several workers. Again, with no disclaimer. And then 2 large roaches with no disclaimer. And to top it all off, a lovely little cherry on the top of the animal cruelty cake, a spider. No disclaimer. Continue that style of video for about a year. Like I've just mentioned, I thought that LCA was doing this all for the views, the follows, likes, comments, all of that stuff that is good for us content creators, and I kinda understand that. But I've looked at the statistics, and it turns out that a lot of his videos that don't involve live feedings do just as good, if not better, than the live feeding videos. So that makes me think that either LCA does live feedings when he is out of ideas, when there just isn't really that much going on with his colonies, so he takes a living bug and puts it inside one of those colony setups and films it for an easy video. Which is bad, it's definitely bad, but not as bad as the other option. Him genuinely enjoying it. I really hope that it's the first option and he isn't, feeding live insects to his small colonies because he enjoys it. He enjoys, watching the prey insects suffer and squirm around. I'm pretty sure that everyone has seen that one clip of him feeding a living wasp, not even with its wings chopped off or anything, to one of his Fedole colonies, and it getting inside of the nest and flying around in there and harming eggs and pupae. It's just a bit of a dick move, in my opinion. Okay, so let's take a look at his most recent controversy, where he attempts to combine 3 separate colonies of Pogonomomex occidentalis into one colony. Pogonomomex occidentalis, the ant, if you just searched up their name and looked at their ant wiki, you would know that they can't combine separate colonies into one. Yeah, that species. This attempt resulted in the total annihilation of the 2 smallest colonies and their queens, and a vast amount of the workers of the biggest colony. But hey, he said you live and you learn at the end. You know what would be better than living and learning? Doing a 2-minute Google search. And then there will be no death of 2 colonies. And you want to know the cherry on top? After all of this death just for one video, it didn't even do better than the videos before it. So take the leaf cutter ant video update before it. It got the same views, 2 colonies dead as a video with no colonies dead. It just doesn't make any sense. I'm well aware that LCA has done a lot more sketchy things, and if I were to go over all of them, then I think that this video would be over an hour long, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave with a message for LCA if he is watching. Oh, by the way, if you're watching this video and want LCA to hear this, send a message over to him to tell him to watch this video. I want you to do a 3-month experiment of doing no live feedings or unnecessary culling of colonies and look at the statistics and see if they're better or worse. My bet is that they will be better or the exact same. Better or the same views for no cruelty, no loss for you. It's a win-win for the ant keeping community and for you. But if you get fewer than the 3 months before, know that you are not entertaining enough, you're not likable enough, not interesting enough for people to watch 30 seconds of you talking without you doing some form of animal cruelty. And with that said, if you enjoyed this video or you learnt, there's an Ants Canada video too. Oh, Christmas has came early. Yes. Okay, let's dig into it. Mikey Bustos operates the YouTube channel Ants Canada, which is based in the Philippines for some reason. As far as I am aware, Ants Canada is the largest English-speaking ant-keeping YouTube channel, and Mikey Bustos, along with a few editors and his boyfriend RJ, run this channel. And I'm fully convinced that Mikey is a very hard-working man. You know, that he's got a full team of people around him that work hard, which I think is a real sign that he cares about his YouTube channel and the work that he puts into it. With that said, I believe that to a certain extent that greed and a sort of addiction to YouTube statistics, views, likes, subs, and all that have corrupted him as an ant keeper into spreading misinformation and occasionally animal cruelty. At the start of his latest video, Ants Canada lays out the reasons not to attempt to mix 7 different ant colonies, which their genus is scientifically known to generally not combine 7 colonies like that into 1 colony. Guess what he does next? I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3. He mixed them together. He explained why you shouldn't mix them together, and then was a hypocrite and mixed them together. Ants Canada's justification for this is that there are species within the Camponotus genus that are proven to be polygynous in the wild, albeit in very, very specific conditions in the wild. He is not in the wild. Those colonies are in test tubes. He says that
the odds were in our favor,
which is literally just a lie. The vast majority of Camponotus do not accept multiple queens. They are monogamy. And going further into his justification, he says that because it's a big colony where all the nuptial flight queens came from, that these colonies originated from, he thinks that the colony had multiple queens because big colony equals multiple queens. Oh, and also apparently all the nuptial flight queens are incapable of going far from their original nest, so he thinks that they're reabsorbed into the original colony, which, you know, they're probably not, because they are biologically programmed to go as far away from their original nest as they reasonably can. I think he knows that this isn't a very good explanation, so he then says that this is all a scientific experiment, which is, well, if he was scientific enough to do an experiment on these ants, you would have hoped that he would have been scientific enough to get these ants ID'd, so no experiment would be needed. He wanted to chase a viral video of potential ant war, which I acknowledge does make for exceptionally good clickbait. Then, as this experiment goes on, ants from different colonies start attacking each other and pinning each other down, you know, because their genus 95% of the time doesn't go together like that. That's not how it works. Oh, and now Ants Canada says, Oh, I regret the experiment. Honestly, this type of stuff, it just kind of makes me sad. But no, he wanted to chase a viral video, a potential ants war, which does, I acknowledge, make for very, very good clickbait. Personally, in my opinion, Ants Canada was on a streak of pretty good videos, you know, going back to basics, just catching some Camponotus queens and documenting their progress every week. My microphone cut out, but what I was getting at is that Ants Canada was on a good streak of videos, you know, just walking through the development of his Camponotus colonies. It's old Ants Canada stuff, and they were informative, and they were good, and they were realistic to new ant keepers, because far too often new ant keepers come in expecting, you know, 1,000 workers within the first month, when that's, you know, not the reality. But this video, after all of those, just shows to me that even though the old Ants Canada might, you know, come through a little bit in some videos, the dramatic Ants Canada will always win. He will always be in control. And in a sense, the Ants Canada that is looking out for number one, the Ants Canada that needs to be, you know, making enough money to, you know, to finance his mansion in the Philippines. I don't think monetization of ant channels is necessarily bad. I just think that it can definitely corrupt ant keepers, and that makes me sad. I think my fellow British ant keeper, Ants England, put it best when she said, "I think he can't preach ant love and then film ants killing each other." You know what, let's leave a message for Ants Canada too, because, you know, he's gonna watch this. He watches all my videos, you know. If you want to do an experiment, raise your ants with that intent, you know, with the intent to do an experiment, because I think you didn't originally want to do an experiment, you just didn't want to raise 8 separate colonies, you couldn't be bothered. So then you did an experiment which would either merge them or kill them all off, so you'd only have to deal with 1 or 2 of them. Even if these ant species could merge together, the majority of those species that do merge in the pre-claustral stage of an ant colony, you know, just after a nuptial flight, when they're still digging that hole or finding that space to hole up in and lay their first batch of eggs. There are some notable exceptions to this, such as Anapolepis gracilipes, but honestly, I would expect more out of someone who's been an ant keeper for over a decade, and for someone whose main, you know, source of income, main job, is making ant videos. So, yeah, this was a big video, quite a heavy video, and I want to know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree with me, or do you disagree with me? Disagreeing with me is fine, and to be honest, I want to hear what everyone has to say on this. So please comment and tell me what you think. Bye.